So there's Boyd Young trying to convince this jury that, kind of sort of that, life in prison might be worse than death. It's he'll die behind bars, he'll languish and live out what's left of his life behind bars. Paula Notari is with me. I don't know if that sells. If you're on the jury and if you have truly been qualified as a death qualified juror and you said yes, if I think it's appropriate, I will impose a death penalty. Does this sell?
I do think it does. I think you're just looking for one juror. And you are appealing to the morality and anything you can possibly appeal to. And in fact, I have a friend who just completed a death penalty case about a year ago, and it did happen. So the juror was qualified, and it was a far worse case than this, and worse in the sense that there was, in that case, it was a prison guard that was murdered in jail by an inmate, and there was one juror who was compelled by morality.
So it was one person was a holdout. How long did it take before they called it?
I don't know the specifics, but I'm sure there's media coverage on it. But in the end, it was an unsympathetic defendant who was already serving a life.
How was your friend? Was she traumatized by it? How did
well,
that go?
It was a he, and no, he was. I think this is the most compelling work you can do as a lawyer. I mean, you're literally trying to save someone's life. So I think just one juror.
Yeah, so that's the target really for this defense attorney is, just turn one person, just make one person feel like death is just too much. When we heard some of the testimony from the defense witnesses, remember their job. Their job is to make the defendant feel less monster, more human. And who do you trot out to do that better than, parents, grandparents, great-grandparents? This is the defendant's grandparent. Now watch this, listen to it. If you're on the jury, how does this impact the guilty verdict you've already imposed on this guy? Well, there is some expected raw emotion from the great-grandmother of the children who were killed by her grandson. I mean, she still loves him, still believes in him, and somehow has processed what he did and still says his life should be spared. Paula, I don't know. You understand her pain. You understand what she wants. But if I'm in the jury, I don't know if I buy that or not. If it's not enough to make me say, yeah, spare this guy.
I think this comes down to just the morality and life experience, the religious propensities of these jurors, what they think, what's happened in their own lives. And I think there might be a juror who says, well, if she's still capable of loving this man who took her and, horrifically murdered her 5 grandchildren, that makes a difference. And again, you're looking for that one juror.
And that's, again, that's a win. And that's sometimes that's all it takes. And I still, maybe I'm more cynical, a juror could say, yes, I will impose the death penalty when they're being qualified before they're given a seat in that box. You don't know. I mean, you really don't know if they don't have some other agenda that maybe they know in their own minds. I'm never going to impose a death penalty. I couldn't do it. We'll never know that. So I think that's a wild card that you see in any case.
And I also think that there's a difference between, we know in our own lives when someone asks you your feeling on something, your feelings on euthanasia is very different than when your grandmother or your loved one's dying in the hospital and they're suffering, and you actually have to be the person to implement that judgment. That's a whole different scenario.
Believe me, I know. And it's a long story, but I've been in that position, and it's not easy, and it does challenge what you think are your beliefs. So let's go back into the courtroom now for some more testimony. This is from a psychiatrist commenting on this defendant. So there's Dr. Donna Maddox. I like her. She's got a way about her that's very easy, very kind of Southern charm, but professional. So Paula, let me ask you how important it might be, again, for this jury to understand whether they should or shouldn't put this guy to death. The medical testimony is.
I think that's crucial. I think in this case that's going to ultimately be the turning point where there are going to be jurors that are going to say, you know what, there are medical experts who've evaluated this person, and this makes sense. The fact that a man suffering with schizophrenia makes sense that he would do something so horrific. And it just might be what some jurors need to make that decision.
Yeah, right or wrong, one way or the other.
Right.
Okay, and we'll find out. Now, that jury in South Carolina is on a break. They're done for the day. They'll be back at it tomorrow. So you can see the battle lines drawn there. That's the defense telling this jury that, hey, you got to prove every single element of the 12 charges against my client. So muddy the waters though you may, you better find in each of those 12 cases that 12 counts that every element has been proven. Paula Notari is with me, criminal defense attorney. You know Mr. Carlos.
I started my career in San Diego as a federal public defender, and along the way, I was friendly with Mark Carlos, yes, and he's a great lawyer.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen him work, and he's not in a great enviable position there. He has a tough job because of the connection of these 5 cases. Again, if he'd severed them and gotten 5 separate cases, I think 2 or 3 are okay. I think 2 are horrible. And we'll see what happens on those. Let me ask you this. The jury's been asking questions, and that's always a good sign, I think, that they're active and thinking a lot. The first question they ask, I think we have that up here for you. There we go. Can we please get an aerial terrain map? And that related to Jane Doe number 3, who was the woman in her garden and addressed or visited by the defendant, allegedly. They wanted a map. The judge said no. How important are these questions from the jury?
Well, I think that was a really good question, because I think it's showing that they want some corroboration, and they're thinking that, you know, they're not compelled by just her testimony. They want something more.
Yeah, and so there was some GPS evidence as well that put him on the scene, but I like that they're thinking. I think that's good. We also heard a bizarre question, though, about the oath. We have that real quick, like we look at that. The second part of it there, it says, how do we know if it's the law, not that we believe in, but it's the length of the law should be different. I get that, but no oath? I mean, come on, they don't understand the oath?
I think as defense lawyers, I mean, sometimes you get crazy questions, and there's one rogue juror
and that's kind of what they're hoping for, I suppose.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. We're coming back with more right here on the Law and Crime Network, so stay right where you are.